because the human is sacred, you can't have the same compassionate treatment that an animal gets, because the animal is profane. Now, is sanctity a given or invented? I say it's invented. Now, you heard what I said earlier. To base some action, human action, and laws controlling it on invented concept is dangerous, to say the least. So the human is sacred. What do you mean by it? Let's get like children now. I like to get like children. Children are honest. We as adults are inculcated, we're brainwashed to make sure we don't ask questions beyond a certain point. But a child is, that's what is so bothersome with his parents. Ask your mother. Father says, ask your mother. What is sanctity? Can anybody define it? Well, most people would define it as the divine in humanity. God in humanity. Someone said to me today, it's a piece of God and a portion of God in humanity. Well, it is a portion. Which portion is it? How do you know it's a portion? Or is it all of God in everybody? Anybody answer these questions? Now look, the child's asking these, not I. The child's asking these. If the human body is sacred, is all of it sacred? Or some part of it not so sacred? When a doctor takes a gallbladder out and examines it and throws it in the garbage dump, is it sacred in the garbage dump? Is the gallbladder sacred in the human body? Is the fingernail sacred? If you clip it, is that little bit you clip off still sacred? You see how silly it gets? Because you don't ask questions. When you invent something, you better be sure you can follow all the way through to a logical conclusion. Or, as they do today in our society, stop short to make sure it's still mystical and mythical enough to be believed, but not absurd enough to be disbelieved. If you take the heart from a chimpanzee, which is profane, and put it into a little baby, which is sacred, does that heart become sacred? Gee, you laugh a little because it becomes laughable. And yet you use that as a basis to perpetuate human suffering for a human being who doesn't believe what you believe and is in agony and crying for help. Because you label that sacred, too bad, gotta go out and suffer. But the lucky animal is not vulnerable to such travesty. It's profane and can get our compassionate help right away. You see how simple the problem is? I don't denigrate any religion or philosophic concept. That's fine. Makes you feel good, I envy. I wish I could. First of all, I'm a physician. What's the object of it? What's the job of a physician? Is it to use the theological concept to guide his medical action? That's what happens in all Catholic hospitals. A physician is neutral. You're there as a professional. A lawyer generally won't impose his medical beliefs on you, or his religious beliefs, that is. He won't impose those on you. You go to a lawyer and he acts totally professional. Fortunately, that field is not tainted with an admixture of religious ethics. But medicine has never been divorced from religious ethics. In the old days, the priest, remember, in the primitive cultures, the priest was both a priest and a medical man. And you've never been able to separate them. Never. And in this highly technological age of medicine, that's dangerous. The problem is really simple. It's not complicated at all. A doctor is a physician there to do what's best for this patient in front of him who is ill or thinks he's ill. Get that? Thinks he's ill. You do the best for that person. Do I care what that person's religion is? Only insofar as the patient brings it up. Should I care what my religious or philosophical orientation is? No. All I care about is my knowledge and experience in medicine to help this patient in front of you. Now, if the patient says something theological or religious, fine, send him to a religious man. He didn't come to me because of a religious thing. He came to me because of a medical problem. And unfortunately, part of the blame is with doctors. They can't separate the two. They impose their beliefs. No, I'm Catholic. I can't talk to you about abortion. No, I'm Catholic. I cannot talk about assisting you out of your suffering. That's okay. But don't make that medical ethics. 2,500 years ago, in the day of Hippocrates, assisting a suffering patient to end the life with poison was ethical and widely practiced. In Hippocrates' day. Now, who was against it? One tiny little religious sect in ancient Greece, the Pythagoreans, which were really goofy. They also practiced smoking. Do you know that? Secretly. They were a secret sect, the Pythagoreans. And they practiced smoking in a society that didn't smoke. And they were the ones who said, humans are sacred, we're against abortion, we're against assisting people dying. Almost everything that the Judeo-Christian religion says today. It's not new, you know. Many of the religious tenets of Christianity and Judaism were laid out in Zoroastrianism long before. It's not new. And so the Pythagoreans said, they're all unethical, immoral, but only for us. You see, even they had the common sense to say that a society could function if we imposed our tenets on all society as laws. Even the Pythagoreans knew that. But later, when you got to Judeo-Christian religion, they went far together and said, for everybody, it's immoral. And they made laws to say that. And they burned you at the stake if you disobeyed those laws. Then we sank into the Dark Ages. They burned Servetus. And they burned doctors who gave women medicine for their pain. They burned them at the stake because the Catholic Church in the 16th century and 17th century made it a capital crime for a doctor to relieve the pain of a woman in labor. Can you imagine that? They burned doctors at the stake. Does anybody care today? No. Even doctors don't care. And they're really ignorant of their history. When anesthesia was discovered in the 19th century, the Catholic Church almost succeeded in making it a felony to use it in medicine because God ordained that humans should suffer. Did you know that? And in 1910 or 1915, have you heard of the Comstock laws? Anthony Comstock, a religious fanatic senator, comparable to our right-to-life fanatics today, in the U.S. Senate, made it a felony, put through a law to make it a felony to send the words birth control through the mail. Did you know that? Have you changed today? The same fanaticism is producing the same idiocy. So they threw Margaret Sanger in jail. That courageous nurse who was trying to help these women agonize with baby after baby in the slums of the Lower East Side of New York, crying for someone to do something for them. They finally succeeded in throwing her in jail. You know with whose help? Organized medicine. When you look at history and say we were so crazy back then, you're still crazy in this society. You have a legislature and a governor that is the tool of the Inquisition, if not the Inquisition itself. It's alive and well. They don't burn you at the stake today. Look at my example. Understand this is not self-pity. I don't pity myself. They imprison you or harass you. They take your license. You lose your job. You lose your reputation. They will kill you suddenly. Worse than actually execute you. And they'll make sure your family suffers too. The Inquisition is live, and you got it in Michigan, probably stronger than any other state. You have irrational governor, irrational legislature, and cruel without knowing it. Now, I'm not calling names. I'm stating facts. If you know the Inquisition exists, and you don't like it, what can you do? Not much. Unfortunately, I hate to disappoint you. Not much.
Till November.
You'll get another cup. The legislature is in control of the Right to Life group here. They're fanatics. You can't. I don't know if you can wrest control from them. But today I made the announcement that I was considering seriously running for governor. I understand. My attorney called me, and I never heard such screaming in my life. I knew, I had an idea, seriously considering it. I knew how it would affect, how it would play, especially with the press being against what we're doing anyway. How this would feed their frenzy. I mean, they love this. And I understand they told me, well, he's really made a clown of himself now, and become the laughing stock. It may be true, and I'm not naive enough to think that I could be elected governor. And I don't know if I'm even qualified. I'm probably like Howard Stern, but I don't think as profane as Howard Stern. But one thing is sure, I know honest people when I see them. And what really got me interested in this was the utter depravity of our judiciary in this state. And the latest decision by the appeals court, which just is an affront to any kind of common sense. It's an affront to it. But there's still nothing you can do much about it. Well, my attorney ranted and raved and convinced me that for the sake of the petition drive at hand, it's better not to take such an action now. I think you'd all agree with that, would you? Would you? Let's take a vote. How many agree? How many agree that I should not do that now? Good. How many agree I should? Okay. It's passed by majority that I shouldn't do it. But one thing is sure, I'm pretty sure that I'm equal to danger and intelligence. And I'm pretty sure that I could have a smooth and efficient and an honest government with the people around me. But it's true. It would, I think, impair this drive we're going now and disappoint many of the people, the volunteers who have put in great effort to get as far as we've gotten and are willing to go all the way. And considering everything, and in their behalf and for everyone else, I would say my attorneys convinced me that at this time it's imprudent to take such an action. Therefore, I will not try that. I will concentrate all my efforts on getting this petition drive successfully concluded, getting on the ballot in July, and getting it in the ballot in November for everyone to vote yes or no. And that's what it is, yes or no. If you go in there and read the wording of that and say, no, what you're saying in effect is, take my right away. I don't want it. And I think that's irrational. You want every right you can get, no matter how tiny. Every right you can get. Keep it. Preserve it. It's precious. They're being eroded. And what this amendment does is extends the Bill of Rights, at least for Michigan. And eventually, if it succeeds here, everywhere. It's one more inalienable right that we have to put in black and white because it's so easily infringed otherwise. And they'll still try to infringe it as they do the other rights in the Constitution. But we've got to put it in black and white. And now in Michigan, we have the once in a maybe a century chance to lead the world. There maybe once in a millennium. Because when this gets on the ballot and passes in November, it immediately becomes part of the Constitution. And do you know, that would be the first time in recorded human history that any political entity has made it an official part of the Constitution. Wouldn't that be something? The first time in recorded human history. And we've got a chance here in Michigan to do it and lead the world. And I think we can. And if we all pitch in, I think there's enough support out there to get it on the ballot and to preserve this right for all of us. Thank you.